Alright, so it's everybody's favourite time of the month. We're back here with a PowerPoint in tow to review another Attack on Titan, a new Attack on Titan chapter, Attack on Titan chapter 130. Eren and Historia in one chapter. That'll sure be a clickbait title for everybody, so that's nice. It'll probably have, I don't know, maybe I'll title it something different, because I definitely want to put that shot of Eren's new Titan in the fucking thumbnail. We got a PowerPoint, a slightly unfinished PowerPoint, but you don't give a fuck about that. Most of you will be gone before we get to the unfinished part, which is these 3 panels. But we don't want to talk about that. Slides, not panels. Panels are in manga. Overall thoughts before we begin. Pretty cool chapter. A lot of plot stuff again. I usually like more character-driven chapters. A lot of information, a lot of exposition, a lot of filling in the details that we needed to get filled in at some point. It was a lot like 120 and 121 in that regard, less like 122 in that regard, or a 119, or a 118, or a 123 or something. But I digress. Minty is spamming the emote, of course. I don't know if anyone else is saying anything. They're just getting overpowered by the man. Currently 23 live viewers. I'm pretty sure that is a record. Everybody in chat can say something to YouTube now as we are recording. Come join next month the Twitch chat. Make it 24 viewers, 25 viewers, maybe even 26 viewers. We can only hope. It's a fun time. If you're mad that I get something wrong, or you're mad that I don't express your opinion in this review, if you're in Twitch chat, you could talk shit. And tell me what you think instead of putting in a comment that I may or may not read. Pharmacies also has a one little Gabby did nothing wrong emote in chat. You can come and get that emote if you want to. You can pay for it with watch time or real life money. So we're going chronologically as we usually do. So we begin the chapter with a little bit of Annie stuff. We speculated about this in last minute predictions, and I think we did it last month as well. Where what's Annie going to do? What's she going to think when they tell her that Liberio is basically finished and they can't save her father? So Annie's conflict now that she's been told about Liberio. Annie says she's leaving. I don't know if she'll actually leave. Even if she does leave, I'm almost certain she'll be back in time for the final battle, if there even is a final battle at this point. We'll talk about that when we get into this actual next point here. Everyone is tired of fighting. That's another thing that's established here at the end. Which is at the end of the overall story, obviously, the beginning of the chapter, which is a quintessential moment at the that the characters go through in these cycle of hatred type stories. You see it in all of these type of revenge-ish cycle of hate stories. Happens in The Last of Us Part 2, you know. Annie doesn't want to fight the Scouts. The Scouts don't even want to fight Eren, etc. No one really wants to fight at this point. They just have to, for duty, for purpose. They don't want to feel guilty about what happens afterwards. Guilt is another thing that's brought up later in the chapter with Historia and Eren as well. Everybody is sad about Liberio as well, because Gabby's family, Reiner's family, PX's family, they're all going to be dead as well as Annie's. Annie seems to care a lot more about her father. It's been basically her only motivation. With that now removed, it'll be very interesting what her motivation is developing in these last 5 or 6 chapters we've got left to go here. It's probably got something to do with Armin. Armin's jaw seems to be healing again. We didn't get any Armin, as I predicted in the last minute predictions video. This chapter, he's going to come up with some big plan, and we're not going to hear from him until he's ready to give his big speech to Eren, I assume. They've teased him and Annie's stories intertwining at some point here as well. I very much think that's going to happen, whether it ends up being a romantic sense, even though even in this chapter, Isayama tends to fucking shy away from any sort of romantic storyline or sex-related storyline, so we'll see where that goes. Let's just check in with chat very conveniently now, where the spamming stops. Annie's complicit, is that what it said? How the fuck did Hanji know where the rumbling is? She looked with her little binoculars, alright? Makes sense. I'm not sure why Annie would leave. She has nowhere to go, and I think she'd at least want revenge. I think the implication is, like this, because obviously this is an early translation, like this line doesn't make any sense at all, I don't think. I'm done with fighting you and I. Like, that's not the proper phrasing here. Isayama's not the best dialogue. It's usually awkward even after the official translation comes out, but this is a little too awkward even for him. Obviously, the Mikasa-Annie rivalry has gone on throughout the series, and we've talked about the juxtaposition there before. I feel like they're setting Annie up to leave, and then she'll come back in clutch to save somebody at the end, which is what I thought Zeke might be doing. Like, everybody will be down, Eren will be ready to kill them all, and then Zeke throws a fucking boulder or some shit and saves them at the last moment. Though if they end up fighting in the sea, which again is symbolically poignant, which is something I hadn't thought about until this chapter. If the final battle happens in the ocean, that'll be a convenient little symbolic thing, especially if it is Armin and Eren. I'm very, again, not much of Gabby this chapter. I'm curious about how this comes back in, because they seem to be setting up Armin to do the speech and the final battle, and again, that would work with this ocean theme if they do fight over the ocean. Obviously, Armin's got his colossal titan that can stand up in the ocean near Eren. I got a fucking bug on my screen. So that could work as well. But then what does Gabby do? She's just going to shoot him for the final shot or something? Our queen protagonist needs to kill this prick. Maybe she doesn't. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, I think Annie, I don't know. I think part of the Tide speech here is like she doesn't really want revenge. I think they're all over revenge at this point. They've seen where it's got them. Though Annie really hasn't, since she's been out for a while, but she never really believed in the mission to begin with, so I don't know. We'll get more Annie with the conclusion here. There's a reason she was brought back more than just we need the reunion. Something she's going to have at least one big character moment coming from here, but so does everybody, I assume. Yeah, she probably knows the direction. She gave Marley the map basically to Eren. Talking about Hanji here. I really don't think there will be a final battle, not a traditional one at least. There's just not that much time left. Also, this scene here about them all being tied seems to conflict that, but I'm pretty sure the Shonen babies will be very mad if this doesn't end in some cool climactic fight. But they're also going to be mad when Eren loses, which is almost inevitable at this point, especially after this chapter. Annie, I'm done. I'm going to leave. Mika, sorry, I can't let you leave. Annie, I'm not doing this grab. No, Annie, I'm not going to fight you. Straddles Miss Leonhardt. Yes, Minty's hilarious. Thomas too is in chat and he says, has he started reviewing the chapter? I wonder if he's figured it out by now. Only true gamers will understand. Yes, we understand. I don't think Annie wants revenge. She killed plenty of Eren's friends like Petra and the crew to be actually bitter about Eren killing somebody Annie kind of cares about. I do like the focus of Annie. Yes, this is like the only focus. This is the one bit of like this group we get this chapter. The Eren flashback does sort of come out of nowhere. I feel like it's 1:30, so something big had to happen, and everybody wants to know what's happened with Eren and Historia. So he decided to do it. The transition was a little weird, unless it is like like Eren can see through all the path's eyes and he knows everything that's going on or something. That could be revealed at some point. So it was like him watching the scene and then thinking, like, trying to justify it to himself, and therefore he goes back on this thought process. Or it's just a flashback out of nowhere. I'm not sure. We can't see the transition here because I don't have the chapter up. I think we're done with Annie, unless Chad has something funny to say. Carl didn't get the Last of Us 2 reference. I very much did. Anyway, I'm fine with her not having some big plot twist. That's her reason to come back. She is the existing as a character in the Alliance, but is not in the background. She's actually a prominent one. I think Armin will likely go on the offensive against Eren. Of course, I missed the beginning of stream. Wowie. Well, never mind is here to everyone's elation. I think we're moving on here. We still got 22 viewers. Chat is sort of slow, though. Maybe people are scared to speak in chat. I feel like that's everything to say about these guys. I'm sure more will come up as we continue. Then we get into the Eren flashback. Eren admits that this is what he wanted. He's the bird. Maybe he's literally the bird, and this bird meme theory will be true. We'll have to wait and see. Again, the theorizing thing, not my favorite thing to do. Even though our second biggest channel on the biggest video on the channel now is that theory video. Eren admits, hold on. So this is the part, what are we talking about here? Eren, says, even if this was decided from the start, I wanted this. So it's basically Eren confessing that this is what, this is all to his wanting. Even if he tries to, this is what characters usually do when they're having some internal turmoil about, their decisions they've made. He's, clarifying to himself. He's like, I wanted this. He's trying to convince himself that this was the right way to go. So maybe he will be convinced at the end. We'll have to see. Eren admits in the first part of this of the flashback that seems to be an internal monologue from his perspective. I think, does everybody agree that this, like, who's speaking here is Eren, right? There's no, like, conflicting theories about this. We'll survey chat in a second. That seems to be an internal monologue from his perspective, that even if this was all predetermined, that this is what he wanted, he's chosen this path, he's the one responsible, everything that happens, all the guilt is on his shoulders unless he's lying in his internal monologue, and we're still getting the Itachi ending. The people who are holding out hope that Eren comes around and is the total good guy and was pulling all the strings all along, I'm thinking it's less and less likely. We'll talk about this later, about how maybe Eren just isn't interesting. We'll talk about this later because this PowerPoint does have a whole slide shitting on Eren a little bit. But it seems like he just wants to destroy the world because he's dumb. I feel like he's just like, he's the unironic Jaegerist at the center of it all. Like, his fans actually did understand Eren the whole time, and they're just as dumb as him. So maybe that's where we're going. Everyone at this point thinks the rumbling is awful, I think, so Eren is voluntarily calling himself the villain here. I don't want to hear any more Eren is not the villain after this chapter. Jesus fucking Christ. There's no way people still think that. There's no way. There's two spaces between these two words. That's pissing me off. But yeah, Eren's basically admitting that this is what he wanted. So I don't know. Maybe you could still make an argument. Well, he's still lying. This isn't entirely proof that he's doesn't have an alternative plan or something. But I don't know. Those people will fucking have a workaround for everything. He literally wants to destroy the world, and people are still defending him. So there we go. Carl Probs to. It has to be him, I guess. Eren is not freedom. That's the whole point. We'll see what the whole point is. Let's not make the thematic analysis at this point. The bird represents freedom, and Eren is freedom incarnate. Eren is freedom incarnate. I don't know about that. This is actually, he's completely not, because later in the chapter he says that, like, Historia, if you can't handle it, I'll just destroy your memories or whatever, even though we fought through the whole Uprising arc against the idea of stealing people's memories and about the people having freedom. So I guess a good way to make a villain would to be like, he's the only person that's free and he will take other people's freedom, which he has said before, that if people try to take his freedom, he'll take theirs. But, like, just everybody's freedom he's going to take, like killing people is taking their freedom, I'm pretty sure. And he's decided to just kill everybody. We still don't know what Attack on Titan means by freedom. So it's so hard to make these thematic analysis at this point. The bird representing freedom is pretty obvious, though. That's like a trope in everything. The bird flying, being free, and the analogies that come with that, everybody knows. Carl, props to you. I think your prediction of just loving Historia and trying to protect everyone is what's motivating him here. This chapter gives so many mixed messages about, is the ship actually real? Do they, like... It basically confirms this chapter that Eren is in love with Historia. But again, Historia doesn't seem to give a fuck, and I think she just is lesbian, and she just doesn't give a fuck about men. So her loving Eren that way, I don't think is a thing, but we'll talk about how it conflictingly sends messages and doesn't answer shit later on. People have been commenting on my theory video where I say that, oh, look, you were right. The new chapter says you were right. It really doesn't. This chapter really doesn't say shit about who the father is. I could call Minty out for missing my sarcasm, but he'd just throw it back at me, so I'll never mind then saying it's sarcasm now, even though it's ambiguous who's talking later on, which is true. Could be Historia, Lamau. Well, actually, yeah. Pharmacies, if Eren wants his friends to live a happy life, why would he tell me? Because he hates her, knowing how much it would hurt her. Maybe he just does hate Mikasa, because it has seemed that way for the entire series, because they have never had a nice moment together. I talked about this a lot in my older videos. That's something I talked about before the I hate you thing even happened. We went to the end. Mikasa sucks, especially if you're Eren. So, like, I don't know. There's no reason for Eren to like Mikasa at all. She's always annoying. She's like a mother to him. Fuck her. Still on 24 viewers. I was going to compare him to Flock. Flock is the Jaegerist. I don't know how much of chat I want to read at this point. We're missing a lot of shit. I did think Eren hated Mikasa not along. But this is another thing. There's still inconsistencies in Eren's actions. Not everything is explained by this chapter. The I will always hate you does conflict with him saying he cares about his friends. Even if Eren's always been annoyed by Mikasa, I don't think he hates her. Um, and calling Armin maybe a traitor for working against him, even though he really wasn't working that much against him at that point. There's a lot of still, like, uncertainties here. Let's continue with the PowerPoint. Let's let chat have itself out. We read a little bit of chat. I'm still reading it now. The decision to get pregnant to prevent the rumbling is the most confusing by far. A better translation is really necessary there. True. This is all very early translation. I read all of this, right? Yes. Eren is the villain. There's the conclusions here. Eren's meetings with Yelena and Flock that we've been waiting for. So we see these two meetings very briefly. We already basically understood what was discussed here. There's just confirmation here. I like this little thing. Didn't take up too much of the chapter. I like this quite a bit. We heard for maybe even years now that these two meetings at some point took place to put everything that has happened this previous arc into motion. And finally, chapter 130 delivers with the goods. Flock sneaking a listen into the Yelena and Eren conversation is some neat characterization for him and shows that he doesn't seem as radical back in these moments. Power corrupts. It seems like Flock just got psychotic and terroristy as he gained more power because power corrupts. Who knew? But him, like, sneaking in, like, he probably isn't supposed to be listening to this conversation, but Eren really doesn't care because he has to incorporate a middleman at some point, and Flock acted as his, like, figurehead, doing political shit in the 110 chapters there. But yeah, him, like, listening in is a neat little thing that Flock would do. I like that little bit of characterization. Not a detail that's necessary, but it works. It also transitions well into the next part where it's the Flock and Eren meeting. Again, Eren doesn't seem to be overly chummy. Here we go. Eren doesn't seem to be overly chummy with him either. With either of them, it shows Flock knew about that euthanasia was a meme. So Flock knew that they weren't going through with euthanasia. I don't think he told everybody else. But at least Flock also knew about it. Everybody knows little different bits. Like Zeke knows little different bits about Eren. Yelena does. Flock does. And then Historia does, which is the truth. This reminded me of a Don Draper meme where Matthew Weiner, the creator of Mad Men, Don Draper is the main character in Mad Men. Everyone should watch Mad Men. It's incredible. Where he said that basically the conceit of that show is that Don Draper isn't talking to anybody, and sort of like you have to show through subtle camera tricks and what he says to different people and how, like, together you've got to try and figure out what Don Draper is thinking. We're very much in that mindset with Eren. We don't know entirely what he's thinking. This part of the chapter wasn't an internal monologue. The internal monologues we get are very vague. But like how the pages are framed, especially later with Historia related to the Mikasa love thing with Zeke, is like an indication there. And like Eren is very emotionless when talking to Flock here. It's not like they're like clapping hands and being like, we will start the revolution, like Zeke was with his original, not Zeke, like Grisha was with his original restorationist. Like they not pumping their fists or whatever. Like it's a very solemn, like, well, this is what you got to do, fuck off. I'll handle the rest. Like, we don't entirely know what Eren is thinking, even still. Will we by the end of the series? That could be interesting if it's left ambiguous. I might not hate that. But again, we'll see everything. I gazed down at chat for a little bit. I shouldn't have done that. So yeah, that's all the little things here. Maybe we should read chat, but he is causing Mikasa pain and deciding that if he thinks it was for best them, not freedom, then he's making all of his friends miserable. True, he has taken all the autonomy away from literally everybody in the world. He's just decided on behalf of everybody from his island that they're going to kill everybody, even though we know people disagree because obviously the alliance exists. And like he's taking all of their autonomy away and making decisions for them, which is not okay. Eren thinks it's for the greater good, but he's just an idiot, so I don't know. He's just as fallible as anybody else. Who is he to decide? That's not a very free thing. Again, in this situation, it seems like Eren is the only free person. And if that's what he wants to jerk off, I guess he can. He even tried to make decisions for Historia, but she seems to have made her own decision. We'll talk about that later as well. I don't think Eren is dumb because nothing he's doing is illogical, just morally corrupt and very childish. Morality is logical, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about there. Also, means Flock was telling truth when he was yelling about Eren told me his plan 10 months ago. I guess that's true. I don't know. I don't know if that was up for contention or whatever. Good point for Flock. He seemed a bit tamed in the flashback. Well, again, he's in front of his fucking god here, so he's like a humble little boy. And obviously, as the plan progresses and as people like sprout up to oppose him, he has to like double down on his beliefs. I really hope Eren's plan gets expanded upon, because if it really is just a hypothetical child throwing a fucking global-sized temper tantrum. But isn't that sort of what Eren has always been? Like, wasn't his, like, one defining character trait at the very beginning that he was, like, driven by hatred? And, like, even this is still by that. Like, I don't know. I think it sort of fits if everyone just expects, like, this Machiavellian plan and Eren is literally just an idiot. I feel like that's sort of clever, and the fact that everybody still loves him and shit because of the first 3 seasons and the first 90 chapters, and showing like their malice as well by just blindly following him up until this point, where it's slowly people have fallen off the Eren bandwagon. It depends how smart you seem to be is when you jumped off. I'm pretty sure most people should have dropped off immediately in Liberio, but we didn't. And it's taken some time, and people are still on his side at this point. So it's like, there's a lot of convincing to do here. If Eren is anything but a child throwing a tantrum, I'd be mad. Even well, Nevermind then is on board with this. The what am I to you scene seems to suggest that Eren did care for Mikasa, though. Yeah, there's a lot of conflicting shit still going on. There's still got to be some explanation. Again, this has all got to tie into him sitting under the tree again, so I think that'll be another opportunity for a big thing, for a big flashback. Isayama originally planned to end it this year, and I think if we get to 135, isn't that January of next year, which means the 1 month break he took? So I feel like we've only got 5 chapters left. Like, maybe 135 is just an Eren chapter, and it's just as he's dying or whatever, he, like, goes back and thinks about the plan, and then maybe realizes internally, like the Griffith Eclipse moment from the 3rd movie, where it's more elaborated on, and you get more of Griffith's thought process, because those movies are really just about Griffith. And he has the realization at the end. I talk about loving this scene all the time, where he has the realization and he's like, oh, this is how it's always been. And he has like this silent acknowledgement to himself, and then he comes back out as Femto. Obviously, this would just be Eren. What if Eren, as he fades, like it's like black pages like this, and he's fading down, and at the end he realizes, that was pretty stupid or whatever. And so we don't get this big redemption arc for all the characters, where all the characters are like, Eren, we knew we loved you all along, but like we get some closure with Eren at the very end of the manga, of him like reflecting to the beginning and how the cycle, maybe like the time travel cycle or something, works. And he's like, that was stupid. I'm glad they defeated me. I'm glad they're going to work out some way to work into the future now that like the rumbling thread is gone, because the rumbling titans are gone now because we killed them all, or they all fell down Avengers style because I got taken out. And he's like, by them beating me, even if this wasn't intentional, like, now they'll be heroes, the world will forgive them. We don't have this powerful weapon to hold them off. Everybody's tired of fighting. Like, we did it. It's finished. The cycle is over. I just had to die. And he has peace with himself. He realizes his error. We get some closure with him. Brings everything full circle. That could be a thing. But yeah, there we go. There's a ton of loose ends. He'll clean them up. It'll be fine. So we're moving on here. Annie's conflict. Hey, I forgot to change the title of this one. That's embarrassing. But we got an Eren and Historia conversation here. I think this was just supposed to be Eren and Mikasa. Eren, like this last one was Eren meeting with Yelena. I'm pretty sure the title of this was supposed to be Eren meeting with Historia. We finally got it. Does Chad have anything to say? Lelouch ending, I'd kill myself, well, never mind, then says, whatever. He's going to sit under the tree with Mikasa like Chapter 1 for his final moments. I feel like that's too literal. I feel like it's supposed to be more like symbolic than that. Man, if the last scene is Eren and Mikasa, I don't know how I feel about that. The last scene should be Gabby. That's what we need. We need new good characters, not these fucking original 3 losers. Now everybody can shut the fuck up. Am I allowed to say that I'm a little disappointed? I don't know if I still am from when I originally wrote this like 4 hours ago, because I reread this scene a little bit. I think I'm just mad that it wasn't a literal sex scene. I think that's what I'm mad about. But no, there actually was. What did we really learn here? We did learn a little bit. It was implied and not implied at the same time that maybe Eren was the father. I don't know why. After Attack on Titan's track record, I was hoping for a sex scene. We got Historia speaking, which is something we haven't gotten for a long time, since 107. She was aware of the plan and guilt trips Eren a little, probably explaining why she was depressed. So the depressed thing was something we speculated a lot. I said that maybe it was a rape storyline and that's why she was so depressed. Doesn't seem to be that now, almost certainly. The cool callbacks to the worst girl in the world line was cool. I know why that shouldn't also be in parentheses. And the time Eren stood up for her in the meeting. They do a lot of callbacks to their history. They don't go all the way here. There is a later implication that Eren is in love with Historia, but we don't get a kiss here, we don't get a confession here or anything like that. It's just them talking about what's going on. They're already on the farm. I'm guessing this is just the farm that Historia is usually at. Usually I would think she'd be in like the palace or whatever the fuck. But this isn't her hiding spot, I don't think, yet. I don't think she's gone there. I think this is going to happen after she gets pregnant. Because I was assuming maybe that she was already trying to get pregnant here. I think I say that on the next slide, but that's not... I don't think that's possible at all. Because she brings up the idea of actually trying to get pregnant at the end of this scene. But the callback to the worst girl in the world line, because I'm pretty sure that's something Historia basically said sarcastically. Though, as a fandom, we have taken phrases that we thought were half sarcastic, and it turns out that they were just true. Like, basically everything Eren has ever said that was, like, really yikesy in retrospect of, like, I'm gonna kill them all, I hate you, you traitors. Like, all the dumb bullshit rhetoric that Eren has spouted from the beginning, where we were all like, brush it off, he's the hero, so obviously he's not gonna follow through on these, like, threats, and he's not actually this manic freak who wants to just kill Bertolt and Reiner instead of questioning them when he's in those trees with Ymir, whereas Ymir is more reserved. But really... like, we probably should have, especially knowing what we know now, like, taken up Eren and all those things. Maybe Eren is literally, like, autistic and he takes everything extremely literally. That could be a possibility, too. And he thinks Historia literally meant she thought she was the worst girl in the world, where it was really Historia was like throwing away all the responsibility so she could then build herself back up with the responsibility after she becomes queen when she slams her father, and how that all thematically ties into her character and the two different personas of Historia and Krista clashing and her trying to figure out who she actually is. That's another thing that's important in this scene. She's very passive here. Whereas, like, the Historia I think we all like was the one that was, like, beating the shit out of Eren, telling him to hurry the fuck up and transform after she slams her father. This is very much a more reserved Historia who's a little down. I think we have to see fierce Historia again. I think this is all said on the next panel, so I'm sort of spoiling it. The next slide, rather. But I feel like she didn't actually mean the worst girl in the world thing. But now she sort of has to embody that because she knows about this plan and she isn't trying that hard to stop it. And she seems to be vaguely going on with it, even though the last panel we get of her in this chapter has her, like, sort of freaked out about Eren's plan here. It's very interesting what the implications are for Historia. I think we need another Historia chapter after this. Again, this didn't, like, answer all our questions. This wasn't the tell-all flashback between Eren and Historia I think we all wanted. And that sort of comes back to the disappointed talking point. But, let me read chat, because this is actually something interesting. Technically, Historia speaks in 122, not wrong. The Historia thing is interesting. I didn't get relationship vibes from them at all. Well, this would be pre that. The goal would be to, by the end of this scene, have the confession or whatever. But yeah. Again, Isayama, the relationship writing, the asexuality is bleeding through. Holy shit, my phone is going flat already. What the fuck? This thing is getting older and older. That's what I get for having an iPhone fucking 6. God damn it, I can't read chat because I've fucking got this shit up. What are we going to do? Chat will literally be dead. At some point, Isayama said he'll change the ending because it was too dark and unresponsible for such a popular manga, and everybody started nagging him not to. I actually wanted him to stick to his guns, but if it's just the successful rumbling, I'd like other ending possibilities. Wouldn't that be bad writing? I don't know what he's saying. No, Truth and Mr. R have fucking the same color, so I thought they were the same person. Wouldn't that be bad writing? I don't know what Truth is talking about. I don't know. We'll see. I want to see what the ending is before I judge it, alright? Let's all calm the fuck down here. Oh yeah, Eren is a contender for an actual autistic character. I've thought this for a while. We're going into digi territories of thinking every anime main character is autistic. We will get another flashback between the two because it feels like we didn't learn much here. Or we could just have it all be implied, and we could be real boys who don't need to have everything explained to us as an audience. But there are a lot of shonen babies in the Attack on Titan fandom, so everything has to be explained 3 fucking times. And Isama has explained everything up until this point, though everything post-time skip has been different and better, so maybe he could let there be some implications, but I don't think we're stepping up to the berserk level of basically everything that's if ever happens is implied and nothing is ever stated outright. We'll see. We'll see if Attack on Titan is actually a big boy series at this point, or everybody needs an explanation for everything. We got away with barely explaining where the Titans come from, and everybody loved that, me especially. So I don't know. Maybe we are turning a new leaf, and we actually don't need to know. What if the baby's father is never revealed, and you just got to read between the lines and make the fucking assumption for yourself? Maybe you actually have to do something for yourself, audience, instead of having everything fucking explained to you like children. I don't know. I'd be okay with that. I think the worst girl thing was her just not knowing how to express her feelings. Yeah, I somewhat agree with that. I think it's weird with her feelings to go on the rumbling. I do think watching your mother being eaten alive is enough to create a rage tard. He said he doesn't care about that really anymore, though of course subconsciously it would still be motivating him. This makes me hate Historia for going along with this shit. I don't know. Hate is a strong word. I don't give a fuck about any of it really. I'm very neutral on all the characters. Did we love it or just tolerate it? With the explanation of the Titan thing, well, I loved it. I think I think 122 is easily the best thing in this entire series. And yeah, it's agreed this is weird. She built up so much. Her either being shown obscuring her face. Alright, I read it. I gotta continue on because my phone's gonna die and then I can't see chat until the end of the PowerPoint. So I read all this shit, right? Cool callbacks and shit. It continues. Eren thinks this is the only way. This is not confirmation because this isn't internal. He's saying this to his story. He could be lying here, but I'm pretty sure this is confirmation that Eren just thinks that this is the best way. I don't think I put the right image here. Maybe. It doesn't matter. If he thinks otherwise, he's keeping it completely to himself. It seems that Eren is just dumb and childish. I love how so many people got mad in all of my videos where I call Eren childish, so I can't wait for those comments. That'll be fun. Identify the moron by people who get mad at that. And really thinks this is the best solution to the problem, or he's literally just being edgy. I get that vibe as well. He's very emotionless in this whole thing. His memories manipulate. We talked about this a little bit already, but the fact that he would offer to manipulate her memories, isn't that something Historia has historically, Lamau, hated her entire life? She hated when Frieda did that to her. It's got to be very manipulating things. If they are in a relationship, the gaslighting would be through the fucking roof if Eren could literally manipulate her memories and didn't have to do it through confusing, conflicting stories about actual realities and convincing her she's crazy when he can just fucking manipulate her memories. So a lot of weird shit going on here, offering to just manipulate her memory so she doesn't remember that she fucking co-signed this shit. Maybe that's already happened. That would be interesting. But that's fucked up, and that would be a real regression of Historia's character. So I feel like that's impossible at this point, where she'll have to deal with it, or she'll have to help stop him somehow. She is at least 3 or 4. No, she's got a pretty big bump, 6 months pregnant at this point. So her getting involved, I don't know how she's going to do it, but it has to happen somehow. So yeah, the manipulate memories thing is a big no-no. Isn't that what the entire Uprising arc was against? We want to give freedom back to the people. We want the freedom to know our own history and make our own decisions, whereas Eren has sort of taken this all onto himself and taken the freedom from everybody and given it all to himself to make the decisions for everybody. And obviously that's where this conflict arises. People are like, no, fuck you. You're not making our decisions for us. I will stop you. And that's basically the alliance from the Paradisian side. But I don't see Historia voluntarily getting her memories wiped again, unless we are just going with Historia got built up as a character and then was sort of maybe thematically she falls again, like the rise and fall of Historia's character. Maybe that analysis video is going to get made in the future. Do we all still think this is he's an interesting character? This is another thing about Eren. I feel like a lot of the appreciation in the community for Eren these last few years after the time skip was surrounding the mystery surrounding his character. But now we know, and it seems like he's relatively killed his emotions, isn't that interesting, and doesn't have much of a personality. I constantly see this. Every idiot. I tweeted my bait about Levi being the best character again on Twitter the other day, and I get responses about how Eren is still the best character. Do we still believe this? What is so interesting about Eren at this point? Like, the interesting thing about Eren these last 2 years that we've all been speculating about has just been plot stuff. Like, what is Eren thinking? And he's done a bunch of mysterious things. Now, this could come around and be interesting by the end, but at this point, besides the mystery of what his motivation is and what plot significance his motivation is going to have on the plot, what is so interesting about Eren's character besides the moving forward motif and how he says it and it's consistent thematically? Like, what is so interesting about Eren? I don't entirely understand, especially still now after we seemingly know a lot and know that he basically has killed his emotions and is very calm and like sociopathic here. Like, is he that interesting? Or are we just blowing smoke up his ass because we like his character design and think he's cool? And it's cool now to say that a character that people shit on for a long time for being boring actually got interesting. And if we put Eren up on this pedestal, then we can tell all the other people that aren't reading Attack on Titan right now, the anime onlys and the rest of fucking anime Twitter, that he's really cool now. Is that what's actually happening here? We'll have to think. I don't know. I made a whole video about how I think people just like Eren because they think he's a Chad or whatever. That's why there has to be more. I know you're freaking out on the inside. You know he's freaking out on the inside. With Eren, maybe. Eren is not that interesting. He's basically just following the plan he saw from the future. He ironically has no free will. Well, no one has free will. Lamau. Determinism. But, determinism, not determinism. Also, is this meme about him seeing the future still a thing? I hate this if this is true. Like, this is an awful plot point if this... I don't know. We'll have to see how it's done. But I don't see any evidence for Eren, like, knowing everything, because he was caught off guard by the fact that Sasha died and shit like that, which is reiterated upon later. I don't know about all this. Eren has seen the future stuff. Maybe it's just me in disbelief because I think it's a stupid plot point. He has long hair and he has abs now. That might ironically be why. I'm not sure. Carl, don't be dumb. You know what the Eren has no free will means. You know what Eren has no free will means. Means. It means in comparison to other people. I don't know. We'll see. Who cares about this fucking bullshit? I hate it. We'll see what happens with Eren moving forward before we make our final decisions about his character and how interesting or not interesting he is. I feel like it just became a meme to... maybe it's just the Soul video at the end of the day. An analysis video explained to people that got very popular why they should like Eren, so everyone just repeats the talking points. That could be it too. I don't know what the fuck is going. Determinism. I didn't even know Jack Two-Base was here. Eren Chad confirmed. I mean, in just specific scenes, I don't think he literally knows everything. I'm more okay with that being reality. Roboghost is also here. He cried because he realized the future is true when Sasha died. Maybe that could be a possibility too. And also that's at conflict with his whole motivation about having everybody live a thing, but we have a whole panel about that at the end. I think we already really talked about this. What does this mean for Historia's character? Easily the more interesting out of these two losers. Historia went into this conversation and away from the meeting in 107, which was a flashback of 107, ready to go with a pregnancy plan. She's already on the farm, so have they already started trying to have a child? This is not true. We already talked about this. Does this mean Eren isn't the father? Again, we still don't know. The last panel we get from Historia this chapter, this isn't actually the last panel. There's one more, I think. But this is like the last one we see up close. Doesn't seem overly convinced of the plan. She seems very passive in this conversation, which is very unlike Historia. We already talked about that. Will she have a big final showing and return as a fierce Historia will show up? We already talked about that. Eren could hold Historia's baby and it not be his. This is another thing I thought I actually like better. If the baby in the final panel is Historia's baby, if Eren isn't the father, I feel like that's more impactful. I feel like Eren, instead of holding up his own like dumb son, it's just a random kid. And it would have significance because it's Historia's kid. I hate the reincarnation theory. I think it's the dumbest shit possible. And if it happens, I like to say I'll see how it's done before I judge it, but that's stupid as fuck. I hate that shit. Maybe it'll come around and it'll be cool. I'm clarifying that in case that does happen and I do like it. But the reincarnation thing about it being little baby Ymir or some shit is dumb as fuck. At least from my 130 brain, where we haven't seen anything in the future. I hate that theory. I hate anyone who says that theory. But it just being like Historia and the farmer's kid after like Historia and the farmer are dead or something, because Eren is the only boy left living. Or maybe if it's even just like a baby that he finds in the rubble of like Liberia or some shit. Like picking them up, like maybe they already have like a badge on their, what is it called, a name? No, what do you call it? A fucking armband. And he takes it off and says, "You're free" or something. And we do get the everybody is dead but Eren meme ending. That could be cool as well. But the baby doesn't have to be his for him to hold it at the end. It doesn't even have to be Eren in the final panel. We've gone over this a million times. Final panel is a meme. I don't usually like to talk about it. Fuck the reincarnation theory, Ian saying in chat. I also like the idea of it being Eren's child, but it's Zeke holding it. Maybe. Historia's baby will be called Eren, not Ymir. That's also a maybe. It feels more powerful when the bond... I still love the irony of the baby, of Historia's baby being called Ymir, but not actually for the god, like, 2,000 a year ago Ymir, but for the Ymir that was her friend, well, her lover, at the beginning of the series. That's such a little Isayama, like, gem of, like, well, if you're an idiot, you would assume it symbolically has a meaning from, like, the 2,000 years ago thing. But no, it's about her friend, because she loved her friend, and she wants to namesake the baby because of that. Historia doesn't know the entire history of Ymir, and maybe she remembers it now from the Frida thing, after the memories or whatever. But, like, fuck this symbolic, like, everything works out over a 2,000 year period. I have a friend called Ymir, who's now dead, and I loved her, so that's what I'm going to call it. Like, that's the Attack on Titan way. That's the shit we like. The sort of, like, fuck all this, like, the build-up of a 2,000 years and how this all works, like, thematically. Just go with the fucking meme here. I still don't know how to properly verbalize that point, and I should probably think about it a little more. You went over my messages. I wanted you to roast me alive. Well, we can only read so much of chat. Historia baby is called Faye, lol, maybe. Faye Valentine, or fucking Grish's sister, you know? The shitty Faye. Fuck anything to do with time travel in Attack on Titan. Memory time travel is cool. Physical time travel is stupid. Reincarnation is fucking baseless and stupid. We'll move on. We talked about all the Historia stuff at the beginning. Zeke tells Eren Mikasa is in love with him, Lamau. We get another update on this Ackerman host nonsense. I still don't know what to make about this Ackerman host idea they introduced here. I can't tell if Isayama is dropping this plotline, but the core here seems to be to my liking. Mikasa may or may not be under this Ackerman curse or whatever, but she's likely does everything she does because she's in love with Eren. This makes so much more sense. We don't need some shitty explanation about how Ackermans are Titan science, whatever the fuck, and they have this host bullshit going on. We already know Mikasa's motivation, right? She's really in love with Eren. It is silly, it is goofy, it's not the best conceit for a character, but that's been the way the whole time. And maybe Isayama realized that it was sort of a weak thing, so he invented this after the fact, this Ackerman host thing, to work it in, to explain why Mikasa is so motivated by Eren, when the flimsy motivation of he saved her one time is a little weak. Mikasa had a lot of trouble being a good character for a very long time. I do like her now, though. But this is good. She's just in love with Eren, so that's the explanation. Eren is a dumb shonen protagonist and doesn't process this. People are going to get mad because I use the word shonen, even though I've been attacking it all week. It was a joke. This is the joke, not the tweet. And as we know from that scene chronologically that happens after, Eren still believes she's a slave. Well, at least she says that at least Eren says that Mikusa's a slave in the "I will always hate you" scene. I think this happens after he asks her if what he is to her. Maybe he actually just didn't realize that she was too nervous to say what she actually felt in that moment and took it on face value and thinks that she doesn't love him, so there must be this Ackman host thing or whatever. I still don't know how we're going to get a resolution to this if this just wasn't, if this in this chapter wasn't him like dropping that fucking plot line. I don't think it is, though. I don't think he would drop a plot line, so this has to come back later. Maybe he'll have a satisfying conclusion that I don't hate. We'll see. But Zeke even seeing this is honest. But when this is the most important part, when love is brought up, Eren immediately flashes back to the Historia scene. They're facing each other now. This could be when the confession happens if we see this extended flashback later. So basically, Zeke brings up that Mikusa loves him, and Eren's like, fuck that shit, I love this girl. And then after this is, this is immediately after this. And Eren says, I can only live for 4 more years. So he's basically giving up on, like, loving someone or something, it seems, which would be against the theory video that I said that everyone thinks I got right. Because afterwards, Historia, this is the biggest indication that maybe he is the father, because like they're correlating, these two things are next to each other on the page. Like they seem to be correlating something here. I can only live for 4 more years. So basically he's saying I don't want to have any family responsibilities, or I don't want to love somebody if I only have 4 more years, because fucking Titan cancer and shit like that. But this wasn't that long ago. Does Eren still have 4 years even at this point? I thought he had less, but who cares? It doesn't matter. The plot will conveniently work around it. And so now, I like this. We'll talk about this in a second. I think we're done with this. I think this confirms that Eren is in love with Historia, and that's why he's saving it. Like, immediately, also, Mikusa, big cuck here. Getting big time cucked. Zeke explaining that fucking this girl loves him, and he's like, but I love this girl. Then Eren, how about I bear a child? And we'll talk about this in a second. I think we talked about everything there. I think we can move on. This is one of the loose ends that I don't know how he wraps up, this Ackerman stuff. Unless it's like Mikusa killing Eren. Yeah, maybe. The headache thing was so dumb. We all know the explanation was bullshit. It's not that weird. There have been cases, even in reality, of people attaching themselves to other people, hardly due to past trauma or experiences. Yeah, but it's like her only character like thing. It's just like a weak character thing, I'm pretty sure. I love Emilia Attack on Titan style. I don't know what that's a reference to, so. Since this panel was after the worst girl thing, Historia doesn't look happy. Lol, she is like, what the fuck, bro? Maybe. I saw a theory that Historia is manipulating Eren with the what if I have a child thing. That would be pretty fucking hilarious if like Historia is like the big manipulator here and she was just pulling on little Eren's heartstrings. Oh, the Chad Eren people would be so mad if it turns out that Eren was a simp theory, wasn't just a meme, it was true. Historia was just playing him like a manipulative girl, just like a gold digger trying to get the Eren's money, but instead it's for some other purpose. She was just playing with this little boy's heartstrings. That would be great. I would love that. Alright, let me read this panel and start reading chat. Historia proposes bearing a child. Historia proposes having a child here, so outside of this being a tricky early translation, it seems that Historia isn't already trying, but now it isn't already trying to have a kid, but now it seems like her idea, which helps with the consent conversation here. Yeah, she doesn't seem overly forced into bearing a child, which is good. Again, I liked the farmer idea because I liked that it was her decision. And I like that she was like taking the power into her own hands, but here she seems to propose the idea of actually going through with the bearing the child thing, not for the Zeke plan, but for whatever plan they're hatching here, and then we cut away. So there seems to be more to this conversation that we aren't seeing now. So expect that 135 flashback to pick up here. And maybe the child works somehow, maybe the child is the big twist, and maybe it is some reincarnation bullshit, but we'll see. She doesn't say, how about I bear your child here, which is weird, but following the love conversation could also be implying that Eren is at least in love with Historia again. Historia could not be attracted to men. Again, she could just be a lesbian. So we can't really do anything in that regard. But this chapter isn't really giving us an answer to the question regarding who the father is. I can only live 4 more years. We already talked about that. Yeah, she doesn't say, how about I have your child, because that would confirm it. So maybe Isayama is being clever with his words here. Again, maybe it's just a weird translation. Maybe the line literally is, how about I have your child? That would be funny, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. It can still be her decision and Eren's child. Yeah, of course. I didn't say anything otherwise. Imagine Historia threatens Eren with a coat hanger. Oh no. Minty is memeing too close to the sun again. Eren mutilating himself. This is where our write-up ends. Hey, I didn't even do text here. This is just a copy and paste one. So then we go back and we see, ignore the text, we see Eren mutilating himself to get back in position to where we first saw him in the Mali arc. It's just filling in these loose ends. He was in the trenches and he mutilated himself. They didn't get blown off or whatever. Hard time. He struggled for this shit. He's put some pain in, cutting off his own fucking leg. That's got to be some hard shit. He plugs himself with the eye that I didn't put the image in here. There was probably more to say here, though. This is basically when Eren decides to say that he's doing it all basically for the people of Paradis to live peacefully afterwards. So he's sort of sacrificing himself. But then this plan gets Sasha killed, and then he has some realization. He does the weird cry laugh thing that he's done before, where it's like, the plan seems to be working. It seems to have gone off without a hitch right now. Everything seems to be in motion for my rumbling plan to work, but Sasha is dying. So how much is he willing to give? Is it going to be pointless by the time, especially since the Alliance is following him? Is Eren going to kill everybody? I'm starting to think. If he has to kill everybody in the Alliance to get the rumbling plan to work, and he has to kill all of his friends for the rumbling plan to work, for the people that he doesn't know on Paradis to be peaceful and happy for the rest of their lives, what would be the internal resolve? What would be the internal resolution in Eren at the end? If he has to kill Jean, Mikasa, Armin, plus all the shifters, not Eren, Levi, and all of them in order to get this ending where he gets to rumble the entire world. That would be an interesting ending where he has to kill them all, and then to get for all the friends he said he cared about, to get them their peaceful ending, he had to kill them all, so it was basically pointless, and then he realizes how stupid his plan was. That could also be interesting. So Eren seems to be holding on to this motivation that actually I'm doing this all for my friends, but it seems to be slipping away from him as he gets further. It's not that simple. He can't just kill everybody for his friends. And so it could be this little contradictory snail eating its own tail, going in circles here, of fucking up. His friends didn't ask him to do this. They don't agree with this plan. He has a panel here where he reflects on all the good times, and Flock is actually in the group there, which was interesting. It was everybody before they went to Shinganshina for the big final battle in Season 3. Very interesting. Sounds like a Kino ending. Translations suck. We have to wait for the official to really understand what's going on. Not really. I feel like we understand. Then the plan is a failure, making Eren a fucking idiot. Well, I'm pretty sure he's already a bit of an idiot. What do you think about an ending where Eren is literally the king of Paradis and he's just depressed because none of it matters? Well, if my original thing was if he married Historia in secret or whatever and had a child, he would already be the king of Paradis. There's something I wanted to say there. I'd be careful reading too much into the exact wording of the panel. There's already people running wild with it on Twitter. There was something I wanted to say about one of the things in chat. To elaborate, when he killed everyone in the Alliance. All he has is everyone in Paradis that he protects. What was I was about to have the biggest brain explosion, but now I forgot. I know I read... I'm having a fucking brain freeze here. Brain freezer. Brain fart. What the fuck? I know I realized something for a second. It was something to do with Eren being an idiot. The plan is then a failure. What would you think about an ending where Eren is literally the king of paradise and he's depressed because none of it matters? Translations suck, we have to wait. That's a Kino. It sounds like a Kino ending. Fuck! I completely forgot. I can't remember. I feel like he's holding on. I think this was a point I was trying to make before, and he's holding on to like this motivation. This was a thing. He doesn't really care about the guilt if he has to kill everybody in the world, because obviously even Eren, I think, would feel guilty and sad that he had to kill like millions and billions of people, children, babies and shit. He's killing them all, but he's only got 4 years left to live. So in his making of the plan, he's like, well, I only got 4 years to live. So like eventually, like, I don't got that long to worry about this shit afterwards. Like, I'll be fine. I don't have to worry about this shit and reflect on this shit and feel guilty about this shit for fucking 70 years after this point. Historia does, so that's why she could be a little more advantageous about doing the plan. That was the point, I think. I think I built it up too much, because it's not that good of a point. But, like, him only having 4 years left could help with the guilt. God, look at this fucking panel. They can swim. Then at the end of the chapter after the flashback, we see the attack on Northern Mali. I think this might be the first time they've made contact. I'm not sure, though. This is like the global fleet. I said that the global fleet probably hadn't amassed yet, but turns out they had, so I was wrong about that. They try to use all their weapons, and the Titans just swim underneath them. They can swim. We were all thinking about how they're going to make it through the ocean. Are they just walking? These motherfuckers can swim. It's awesome. I love it. Everything about this last bit was fucking cool. But I also speculated for a few of the previous videos that we had to see the destruction from the Malayan perspective or from the Liberian perspective of like these millions of giants coming to just trample everything. And a cool little detail here is they just kill people with the smoke. Like, there's this massive, massive wall of like disgusting Titan smoke coming at people where they can't breathe or shit like that, and it burns people because it's very hot. Like, that's a brutal way to kill people. So the trampling of the world is like to just kill the leftovers. The gas coming through is going to kill most of them. Those early leaks about some sort of nuclear option, about how nukes were being made or something, wasn't true. So that's sad, because that is a prediction I had in the past. But yeah, everything about this ending bit is fucking cool as shit. We're supposed to see the destruction so we can understand just how bad Eren is and how awful this plan is. So even the most meanest of Jaegerists can understand that this was a very immoral plan. And then we get the new Titan look, which is fucking spectacular and awesome. Eren's showing his ass to the fucking people. He's running in. Look at this fucking wall of monsters coming up. It's not just one layer thick. I don't know why I thought that, but it's like multiple fucking layers thick of just colossal fucks fucking shit up. Oh, this is so fucking great. This character design is fucking epic. He has to turn his neck upside down because he's facing the wrong way, because it's just a monstrosity here, and it looks like a horror movie villain. It looks sort of like a spider. It looks like the fucking centipede thing from chapter 122. And they all somehow know it's the attack Titan. I don't know entirely why. I'm sure that it's explained somehow. But they're fucked. And this fucking monster horror movie villain over here design is coming down on them. The close-up is even scarier. It was probably the thumbnail for this video. All of this was spectacular stuff after the flashback. I think this was a pretty great chapter. He keeps moving forward. Now, Minty was telling us before the stream that this might be a translation, and that someone, the translators, this here is what this says, and there's actually text underneath here that hasn't been translated about how Eren is going to kill every last one of them, which is a callback to what he said, I think at the beginning of episode 2 of the anime, probably chapter 2 of the manga, where his initial motivation was to kill every single one of the Titans. I'm going to talk about this here. Maybe this is a mistranslation about Eren killing every last one of them, like he promised to do with the Titans originally, but now cleverly he's killing every last one of them, being humans while using the power of the Titans. How cute. It's all come full circle. Now Eren, we even get the panels of Eren back in the day watching his mum get eaten by the Smiling Titan, and it's a very clever thing of now Eren is the big monster crashing down. Its parallel is more blatant even than the Liberio one originally, where it was like, hey, when Eren attacks Liberia, it's just like how Reiner and Bertolt attacked Paradis. But this is the more direct parallel of like Eren coming to a foreign land from the edges, from the coast, from outside the walls, with the fucking army of Titans ready to trample and destroy shit, while he's the big main bad hanging out in the background. God, him hanging upside down backwards, it's such a clever little thing. I guess he is walking on these fucking weird legs, or I guess this is the legs here, huh? No, this is the hair hanging down. What the fuck? So he's walking this. I guess he's walking backwards. He doesn't. Like, what a monstrosity this is. Also, everyone is probably going ballistic about him saying the phrase, because it says keeps moving forward, and everybody has a fucking laugh when someone says that, because they watched the same Soul video we all did. Yeah, this is cool as fuck. Look at this fucking destruction going on here. It seems to be curving this way, which is a little weird, but okay. He said the thing. Well, never mind. Then says yes, exactly. It's like a centipede. The centipedes like bend back that way. It's just a spooky little design. His hair is the size of the colossal titan. Not untrue. The rumbling is an inverted wall. We talked about that. That was one of my off-kilter predictions, where I was like, what if he just marches all of the Titans to surround Mali, the continent of Mali, and just makes a wall on them this time. But it doesn't seem to be what's happening. I'm not sure, but I've heard the translation maybe didn't mean the attack titan is coming, but the Titans are coming. That would be another good parallel back to Chapter 1, where it's like, everybody was screaming, the Titans are coming, the Titans are coming. This is the real Shingeki no Kyojin. This is the real Advancing Giants, maybe. Holy shit, Eren is so fucking tall. True. The Ymir curse, I think, won't come into play at all. It's kind of dumb. Yeah, I thought that, like, when they introduced that, like, the founding titan could change, like, a person's anatomy, like, I thought one of the things they were going to do when they got the power of the founder was, when Eren and Zeke touched hands, was to get rid of this curse thing, so that, like, Armin and Annie could have a happily ever after, where they don't die after, like, 3 years. Oh, we're starting to go flat. I was reading chat. That's the end of the PowerPoint. I don't think we're going to look at Reddit comments or anything. This wasn't a particularly like hot chapter. I don't think people are having hot takes about this chapter. We will read chat for a little bit, even for the YouTube audience. So if you said something incredible that I missed beforehand, say it again in chat. I will be paying full attention to chat for now. He might not be inside the Titan. I know he has the Warhammer. That's true. He does have the Warhammer Titan in him, so he could be like underground, being dragged along by the sea. Because they did introduce that Warhammer thing, and they didn't really go anywhere with it. Oh, we don't want to show that because we could get in trouble. My phone is still not dead, so I'll read it on my phone, and we'll just keep fucking YouTube up or some shit. Because they introduced that idea of the Warhammer Titan, like, coming up from the ground or whatever. Like, I feel like that has to come back into play. There's a reason that was introduced, and they just didn't have it be the same as all the other Titans. Fuck, now we are actually going flat. Real big time. Not even sorted by controversial comments on YouTube. He has those weird cords going through his elbows to his spine. Cheeky is here. I don't know if he's new or if he's been in chat and I've just been ignoring, but hello. Removing the curse. Also, there's a bunch of strings in the back of the Titan. Is there? Where do I see this? Well, I guess I shouldn't look at it, but whatever. Hold on. We'll have to investigate what I just read in a second. On the last panel, alright. People speculated that this form might just be an extension of his body, implying that he is not made in paths or by his own mechanism. Might imply that Eren will never return back to his human form. That could be interesting. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. Eren is the bird theory is better than Willy being in the window. Willy was in the window. That was fake news. Also, where is the dick in is Zeke? Where the dick is Zeke? Not untrue. Zeke has not come back yet. We will have to wait and see how this boy gets reintroduced. Either he's not inside the Titan or he can't return to his human form ever again, I think. Well, his human form was fucked. Like, half of his back was missing. So maybe he just bled to death, though I don't think so. I think it'll be a big thing where he comes back at the end to save somebody. He has to have one big last character moment, I'm pretty sure. Or Willy being absorbed by the Attack Titan. His nape's completely exposed, though. I feel like it would be easy for Armin to just body slam it. We'll have to see. I don't think a sword could probably cut through it. Maybe because it's very thick because of how big he is, right? We'll have to see. Also, it's like underneath his body, right? Since he's like, I don't know, you could use 3D maneuver gear to get around it. Also, they have a plane, so I don't know. Chat, you got anything else? We're down to 19 viewers. Pathetic. Before we end it off for our wonderful YouTube audience. Say something smart. Come on now, chat. I believe in you. But overall, I think I liked the chapter a little bit more after talking about it. Did you see my ending elaborating on your idea of Eren killing everybody in the Alliance? I don't think so. He has the founder. I can't imagine how you'd kill him. Well, he's obviously going to die, so we're going to find a way to kill him. Or maybe not, unless he just wins. I made it up, but it's sort of interesting and original. Why would Eren kill all the people he's trying to save? Well, if he has to continue the rumbling thing, if they all start attacking him, why wouldn't he? Made up on the spot. By the way, the ships in the fleet look exactly like like the Japanese battleship Mikasa. Well, that's a neat little detail, I guess. Can't Eren just keep erasing the memories of the Alliance? Maybe. You have to, like, touch him to do that? Who knows? Is there anything good in the comments on Reddit? I don't know. I don't want to check. And then Mighty Gem links the Mikasa ship thing. So the Eren's devil face we have been back in chapter 123. That was his Titan face in the transformation, or his own face. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me right now, so I couldn't say. But it does look very devilish. Some Devilman vibes coming in. So they can't attack them. Violence is acceptable in the name of justice, YouTube. I think we will end it for the YouTube audience at this point. I don't know, it was actually longer than I expected. I was expecting this to be a shorter review because I didn't think there was that much to say. But apparently there was. There was a shit ton to speculate about. We didn't even get into chat that much. But for the YouTube audience, we'll be back in a month. Top 10 Attack on Titan moments should be out in the next few days. Hopefully, I've been saying that for a month and a half now. But it actually should be out in the next few days for real this time. So look forward to that if you're still sitting around here. But with that being said, support links in the description below. Thanks.